This is a quick follow-up to a previous question I answered about how to copy Excel data into PowerPoint using VBA. In that video we explained how to copy Excel data into a brand new blank PowerPoint slide. So we pasted the Excel data as plain text in a text box, as RTF formatted text in a text box, in a PowerPoint table as a basic picture, and also as a linked or an embedded Excel object. The one thing I didn't cover, however, and probably what I should have covered, was how to paste the Excel data into an existing text box in an existing presentation. And that's what Asad wants to know, so that's what we'll try and cover in this video. I'm going to use some basic sample data. It really doesn't matter what data you want to copy if you wanted to follow along. I just like to use some real data, so I've headed across to Wikipedia's list of highest grossing films and copied the top 5 rows from there. I've then pasted that into a blank Excel workbook, made some slightly questionable choices about the formatting of that text, but at least it will stand out when we paste it into PowerPoint. I've also just saved this Excel workbook as a macro-enabled file, and that's saved alongside a PowerPoint presentation in the same folder. Now again, I've made about as much effort formatting the presentation as I have with formatting the Excel workbook. But there are 3 slides in here, and the slide I'm interested in is the third one, and it's the second text box on there. So there are 2 simple shapes on that slide, and it's the second one we're going to paste our Excel data into. I'm just going to close down that PowerPoint presentation, and just to show you that that's saved in the exact same folder as the Excel workbook. Then we can head back to Excel, we can open up the Visual Basic Editor, we can insert a new module into the project, and create our first subroutine in here, copy data into PowerPoint. Before we start writing the code, it will help us if we set a reference to the PowerPoint object library. So let's head up to the Tools menu and choose References. And then we can scroll through the list to find Microsoft PowerPoint, whichever version number you happen to have installed. In my case, it's version number 16. Having done that, I can click OK. And then I'll declare a few variables to help me out. So dim ppt as PowerPoint.application, dim pres as PowerPoint.presentation. The next one's a little unnecessary, but it helps make the code a little bit neater. I'm going to declare a variable to hold a reference to the slide containing the shape, so dim sl as PowerPoint.slide. And finally, dim sh as PowerPoint.shape, and that will capture the reference to the text box that we're going to paste our Excel data into. Now we can write the code to start PowerPoint and open up the existing presentation. So let's say set ppt equals new PowerPoint.application and set pres equals ppt.presentations.open. If we then open some round brackets, you can see there's a single compulsory parameter there, which is file name as string. Now I know that my file is in the same folder as this workbook is stored in, so I'm going to say this workbook.path. And then concatenate to the end of that the name of the presentation I want to open up. Inventively, I've called this my presentation. So I can concatenate the literal string \my presentation.pptx. Okay, so at that point, I'm just going to test that that part works by hitting the F5 key, and we should see that the presentation opens up, and that will return a reference to the presentation. So the next job is to capture a reference to the slide and the specific shape on that slide. To capture a reference to the slide we're interested in, we can say set sl equals pres dot, and then reference the slides collection of the presentation, and then refer to the index number of the slide we want. So the slides collection is indexed from the number 1, so if we want the third slide, we simply enter the number 3, close round brackets, and there we have a reference to that specific slide. Getting a reference to the second text box is fairly similar. We can say set sh equals sl dot, and then each slide has a shapes collection. And again, the shapes collection is indexed from the value of 1, so the first shape has the value 1. The second shape, which is the one we're interested in, is numbered 2, so that will get a reference to our second shape. All we have to do now is copy some data and paste it into that shape. So to make that work, we can first of all reference the block of cells we want to copy. So I'm going to refer to range A1 and then the current region property, which will reference the entire block of data that cell A1 belongs to. So I'm going to say range A1. I'm pretty happy referring just to range A1. That will refer to whichever worksheet is currently active when the code runs. And as there's only one worksheet, I can be fairly confident which sheet that will be. And then I can refer to the current region property and then the copy method. Then I need to refer to the shape, so I can say sh dot, but I can't just paste directly into the shape. In order to paste into the text box, I first of all have to reference its TextFrame property, followed by its TextRange property. So I'm going to say sh.TextFrame. Then I'm going to reference TextRange. And finally, you'll see there's a paste method in there, which I can enter like so, and then execute the subroutine by pressing F5, and you'll see all my beautifully formatted Excel text gets pasted into the second text box on that slide. So we have our text data in here, but it's not particularly well laid out. It's essentially just one continuous stream of text pasted as a single bullet point in that text box. I think we can do a little better than that. Let's just close down this presentation without saving the changes. And then heading back to our VBA code, at the end of the paste line, I'm going to click there so the mouse cursor is, or the text cursor is positioned on the word paste, and then press Ctrl and spacebar to bring back the IntelliSense. You'll see that there's a PasteSpecial method there as well. I'm going to enter the PasteSpecial method and then type in a space afterwards. That gives us a method that has several optional parameters, the first one of which is data type. How would we like to paste the text we've just copied? When we're pasting into the text range of the text frame of a shape, we only really have two choices here. We've got two types of text we can paste. Right down at the end of this list is the basic pp paste text. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to execute the subroutine again, and we'll see that we've pasted essentially as plain text. So we've lost all the formatting, arguably making it look much better than the formatted text that I chose. But the important thing here, you can see that we've pasted each row from the Excel table as a separate bullet point, and we've got tab spaces between each column as well. So that's slightly better, I think. The other option we have here is to combine the two techniques so we can get a separate paragraph or a separate bullet point for each row of data we're copying, but along with this beautiful formatting we've created. Let's close down the PowerPoint presentation again without saving the changes. I'm just going to take away the pp paste text and then type in a space again after the word PasteSpecial to bring back this list of enumerated constants, and find the one called pp paste RTF, rich text format. So having done that, I can run the subroutine again, and we will get the same presentation opened up. The same data pasted into slide 3 into the second text box, but this time with a separate paragraph or bullet point for each row in the Excel workbook, but with this fantastic formatting applied as well. Just to wrap up this short video, there's one extra option we could use to paste text into an existing text box. I'm just going to close down this version of the PowerPoint presentation without saving the changes. And then back in the VB editor, I'm going to get rid of everything on this line apart from the initial sh dot. Now I'll press Ctrl and spacebar to get my IntelliSense list back. Now you may have noticed this earlier on when I first referenced my TextFrame object. There was also an option in the list called TextFrame2. Now this was introduced in, I believe, PowerPoint 2007. A TextFrame2 is essentially the same as a text frame, but it was introduced to include some extra methods and properties for the new font and text formatting features in that version of PowerPoint. But you can still use it in much the same way as an original text frame. So if I say sh.TextFrame2 followed by another full stop, I'll find that it also has a TextRange property, and that TextRange property also returns a reference to an object which has a paste and a PasteSpecial method. If I go with the PasteSpecial method though, you'll see a couple of small differences to the way this PasteSpecial method works. If I type in a space afterwards, you'll see that the tooltip that appears shows a single parameter, and it's a compulsory parameter. I have no choice here, I have to provide a format option. You'll also notice that the options in the list aren't the same as the data type options for the PasteSpecial method of the TextFrame2 Object's TextRange property. But I can still choose essentially the same things. There's an option there for plain text and an option there for RTF text. So let's go with the plain text option. If I select plain text from the list and then I run this subroutine again, we should see that the same table of data gets pasted in as plain text into that text box, just using the TextFrame2 object instead. Finally, just to wrap up the video, we can do the same thing to paste as RTF text. Let's close down this version of the presentation without saving the changes. And then back in the Visual Basic Editor, we can get rid of the plain text format option and instead replace that with the Format RTF option. Having done that, we can run the subroutine one last time and we'll find the neatly laid out but not particularly beautifully formatted text pasted as RTF text. So there we go. I think that fairly comprehensively covers the various different ways to paste text into an existing text box in PowerPoint. Hopefully that answers the question, but again, as always, feel free to carry on asking more questions. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching. See you next time.